It's time to consume slime, everybody. Welcome back.
Khantehnt!
Khantehnt is the name of the show, and we're here to talk about stuff. But first, go to subscribestar.com/Khantehnt and pledge $10 to get all our bonus episodes.
Khantehnt!
So we're back. Slime.
Finished the first season of the Slime Show, and thankfully the last arc is a lot better than the arc that had come before it, in my opinion.
I don't know. Well, it was, I guess. There were terrible lulls, like when that fairy showed up and wouldn't shut the hell up for a while.
I had a feeling you might not like her based on your opinion of the previous Demon Lord that we've met.
And my internalized misogyny. But both those factors are deep-rooted. Hey, let's just get into it. So we left off with the characters. We had met all the kids of Rimuru, who were used to be SHIZU'S old students.
Yeah, we have a classroom scene of him like just meeting all the kids, which I, as soon as I saw it, realized I had ripped off in my own light novel.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, which I think is basically just a combination of this show and ReZero now after rewatching them both.
Sick.
Now I understand how all these light novels happen. Like, I didn't go out to try to make a generic rip-off of those shows. I mean, I did, but not of them specifically.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kids are fucking adorable. I don't know much else to say about them because they don't really get to do anything in particular other than like show off their powers, get introduced, and have fun with Rimuru for a bit over the course of a few episodes.
They get a bit more of a spotlight than like your average goblin guy from the village. But I think one of my issues with that is they kind of are treated in a similar way to just the way the whole show has been. We're like, we meet like a new faction and we learn a little bit about them. We really don't spend a lot of time with like their personalities or anything. And I get that the show is fairly lighthearted in that aspect. So that's not what it's trying to do. But just as a consequence, I don't really feel particularly attached to them. I appreciate that we're trying to honor Shizu's desires and like save them, so I like it on that basis. But like the scene of like learning about their powers, I mean, their powers are really boring. And like it's not like they're ever gonna do anything cool with them.
We've got a fire user is one of them, I think.
Yeah, I guess so.
I mean, there was the one girl has golems. She's got some, she
sure.
controls like little bunny rabbits. That's cute. The one
Water
kid
magic.
like just goes berserk.
Yeah, kind of cool.
And I like that, he seems like he's just a, quiet, like, I don't really give a fuck what's going on kid, but then like he rages out and he's actually like a spaz.
This is a great time to, I think, bring up an issue with this show, which is this. It's that if this show is an action combat show, then all those things need to mean something. There has to be a fight with those. Obviously, that's not what these characters are for, so it's like a slice of life fun time show. Okay, but those powers are not particularly interesting, so it's not like, am I just supposed to be enjoying, look at these characters having fun with their powers? There's something lacking in that equation there, and I don't know what it is, but it's something.
It felt, I like that Rimuru, as he's fighting the kids, is kind of just like, cataloging what they're doing. He's like, okay, these are the powers you've got. That's interesting. I wonder what I could do with that, or like how I'm gonna, train you kids and stuff. I mean, I guess this, in retrospect, it's just kind of weird that he leaves them there, because like we have, he trains them up a little bit. He gives them all great spirits, and then we kind of leave them. And I assume they'll be back. Given the fact that we've already had 2 years pass in this world, and that we seem to be building towards some kind of like everyone in the world being involved kind of event, I would say that probably these kids will just age up and like get reintroduced as teenagers or something. But like, that's knowing this show and the way it's going to be handled, it's literally like we just got introduced to these characters, got dumped all the info on them, and then we're going to meet them again, and probably the same thing will happen.
Yeah,
we'll
probably.
just see their powers again, but how they've gotten better. And that will be kind of interesting, because again, the best thing about the show is just the growth.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Why I thought this arc was better than the last one is that there wasn't a big fight it was all building towards. It was literally just about powering up these kids enough so they won't die.
And see, I appreciate that, and I do like that idea, but the actual mechanics of how it does, it feels like it's just handed to them on a silver fucking platter. The scene in which, okay, Rimuru intelligently says, okay, I gotta find the fairy queen or whatever it is, the great spirit queen, whatever it is. I know someone who might know them, dryads. I'm gonna go talk to the dryads. He goes to find the dryads and says, hey, do you know where I can find this lady? The dryad says, no, we lost all connection. Well, shit, that was my one lead. I guess I'm fucked. Next scene, randomly meets a merchant, and one of the merchant's henchmen is just like, I'm singing a song about how I love the Queen of the Fairies. She's my people's savior and our god. And she just, and then Ryu is just like, hey, do you know the Queen of the Fairies? I'm inferring from your song.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, bro, I know exactly
My
where
village
she is.
is right next to
It's
their
right
temple.
next door. Just, on the one hand is like the ticking death time bomb of the kids that don't even seem to care, that's theoretically fine. But how much narrative weight am I supposed to fucking care when the problems get solved so fucking easily? The Queen of the Fairies turns out to be a demon lord. But that's not even a plot point. Nothing comes of it. What does it mean?
They show up to her temple, and she's got a mech made of magicules, so which is tied. You know, he rightly assumes that she basically solved the Magisoldier problem the dwarves are trying to solve.
She addressed the MQ.
Yeah.
The Magisoldier quest.
She solved the Magisoldier question, but it's still not enough to beat Rimuru, of course. So once her mech has been bested, she's like, oh, fuck it, I'll team. Oh, you're the slime I've heard about. Now we're friends.
Mm-hmm. But don't you feel like these obstacles, they're set up like dominoes, and they're knocked down with no effort so easily?
I wouldn't even call them obstacles. It's basically like he walks in the room, hears what has to be done, and does it. And then it's like just, nothing's impeding him. He just does it.
You're right. But I do feel like dominoes that are intentionally put there just to be pushed down playfully is the spectacle of watching these dominoes be set up and pushed down enough for you. If so, this is your kind of show. I don't feel a lot of stakes or a lot of character or a lot of anything. And Rimuru's very placid analysis of what's going on, yeah, okay, we gotta do this, it's not really very gripping.
It's not.
It's comfortable, I suppose.
It was odd for me having forgotten, I guess, that he doesn't take the kids with him at the end, rewatching these and just kind of being mildly invested, and then oh, that's right, they're not even going to be relevant. So did I really learn any
we didn't learn shit about them.
No, we mostly get lots of just little world building details about how powers work and summons and stuff, great spirits. I think most of this was to introduce the idea of these great spirits before we introduced the most important one at the very end.
There's something weird that happens there about a future spirit that's obviously tied to the hero.
Yeah, he might be from the future or something. So we have this major theme in this show of inherited will. We've talked about how that's what Rimuru is following, is Shizu's will. But it seems like perhaps Shizu's mask also has a will of its own. As it was handed to her by the great hero, it was handed then to Rimuru. And Rimuru says, after he gives the mask to the little girl, I just felt compelled to do it.
Well, here's why I think that happened. I get the inherited will thing. I think there's just a time loop happening here. I think this girl is the literal hero who gave the mask to Shizu in the first place via time travel shenanigans. They mentioned time travel. I think
there is space and time magic in this show.
There sure is. There sure is. So I don't know if that's true. They specifically say the great spirit that inhabits that girl is way bigger, and they distinctly say from the future. I don't know which queen knows that, or fairy girl, but she does. And okay, I guess we'll address that at some point.
That wasn't even the great spirit I was specifically referring to when I said the important one, but we very briefly meet one called Black at the very end of the show.
Oh, in that last episode. Yeah, right.
Is
he not a demon? Did I miss that?
No, after they summon all those guys, then they show him as he's he's mad he wasn't summoned. He is another great spirit who wants to be fighting alongside Rimuru and was watching and is ooh, well, I'm gonna get summoned eventually. Don't worry. I see. And then we have a whole sort of extra bonus Shizu backstory episode to further introduce that guy and get us thinking about him. But I guess we'll talk about that when we're done with, I don't know, do you have anything else to say about this
The
arc?
only other thing I want to say about these kids in this arc was that I think what this could have been enhanced, and I know it's not what the show's doing, but the whole time I was thinking, they give us the plot point that each of these kids is summoned for a specific purpose. That's the whole thing behind a summon. That's why they have so much extra power in them and they're going to die. I was very, very curious what that purpose was, and I think it would have been really interesting to learn that, like, I don't know, maybe this girl was here to, like, genocide the orcs who were invading or something, and, like, that informs her power in some way. I'm just saying, I would have loved more meaningful details. All we get, at least for that girl, is like she controls golems. Okay, why? How? Where are we going? Maybe we'll address where we're going with this at some point. Any of those kinds of things would have been nice. But we didn't get much.
Did you like how both of the cute little girls are explicitly in love with Rimuru, and how he, after summoning spirit to one of them, just like lifts her up, Princess Carrie, and gets pecked on the cheek, and I was just like, what is all this lolly fan service all of a sudden?
I thought that was cute.
It was adorable.
And I mean, the black-haired one especially was like, literally says, I love you, and seems to be...
Yes, she says, I love you, and the other one is mad that he gives attention to her, so
and
they both like it.
Rimuru is like, man, please come back when you're like 10 years older. Please
he literally
keep
says,
this going.
if only you had said that 10 years, which is obviously going to happen. Like, they're going to grow up, they're both going to be in love with him once they're of proper age.
Hey, if time travel's happening, maybe all of these kids will show up aged via time travel, and that's how we get around
Also
this whole
possible.
weight of I don't know, whatever.
I think that much time is just going to pass. I mean, 2 years have passed already.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
The fucking Goblin Village is huge now, so like I think we're going to see like massive escalation as this show goes on. Very curious about season 2 for that.
Yeah, me too. I suppose, because Rimuru at the end just goes back to the village and is going to keep doing stuff there. I felt myself missing the village a lot. I missed the growth and stuff, and I guess there's not much to say other than like, this was a little thin on character and depth, and while it was fun, like remember when Rimuru fought that sky dragon out of literally nowhere?
That was, it just happened.
I don't know why that happened.
The dragon showed up, and I went, oh yeah, I forgot about this, and then he kills it instantly, and I went, oh yeah, that's why.
Does this sort of thing happen commonly? Who saves them?
The reason that happened was so that there was a reason he would talk to that merchant.
Yeah, and he could learn where the thing is. I get it on that level. I don't know, is this a common thing that god-level sky dragons appear all the time? If so, who's defending this town from them? And if they're after Rimuru specifically, then they could have addressed that at some point. Things are getting a little sloppy, if you ask me. I'm a little confusing here. But in any case, it wasn't bad, but I want more town-building stuff. That's the good stuff. And you know what? Someone aptly pointed out a plot thread that we mentioned while we were watching, or I did, that I just forgot about, and that was, I wish the ogres hadn't been made so anime generic looking like, because I miss their more aesthetic colored skin.
Some of them were much cooler looking as ogres.
And we've talked about this with like the Goblinas and the lizard guy the lizard people, some of them just turned into like hot anime people. You know, there is a genericization going on some of this progression. Who says that the human form is the ideal one, right? Why isn't it the goblins that are the ideal peak physical form? Or dragons, or whatever the fuck? Especially, you'd think that someone who is a literal slime wouldn't be so anthropomorphonormative.
He's not the one controlling what they turned into.
It's the meta of the universe. Okay, but you're right. It's not Rimuru's fault. Well, in any case, fine. It was all fine. Please do more interesting growth stuff and more Demon Lord political maneuvering.
I completely agree with you that what was missing here was like caring enough about the characters who are growing. And like I don't mind going off and doing an arc that is literally just powering up because, like I said, it's the most interesting thing about the show. But to introduce 5 new characters, just power them up and then fuck off is a little odd.
Agreed.
But, you know, I want to like these characters, they just don't get to do anything yet. And then it kind of... I had also forgotten going into watching these 5 episodes that only the first 3 would even be about them. And there's 2 completely other episodes that we're now going to talk about.
Let's do so now.
So first we have the Shizu Backstory episode, which the mere fact of this episode's existence might be my favorite thing about it, just that like we get to see Shizu's adventures when she was a hero.
I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen more up to this point, but I liked it for that aspect.
I like the idea, because like we know she had a super long storied adventure of her own.
Right.
It's tonally and locationally completely different from what we've had so far. So like we get to see more of the world, see more of how like normal humans act and stuff, and see like Shizu as like this traveling hero, like common rider type, like masked avenger going around fighting people, and we're introduced to the greater spirit Black, who is summoned through like a blood ritual specifically to kill these like nobles who.
Which is pretty badass.
Which makes him an interesting, like kind of morally ambiguous character in that he's like obviously got demonic powers and he's does not fuck around, but like he's a summon for vengeance. He's not out of his own accord. He like eats people who summon him to do some evil shit.
By the way, shout out to the lady who summoned him for being the hardest motherfucker in the game, who's like, yes, eat my soul, eat my dead lover's soul, but kill the people who fucking killed us. Yeah. That was a badass lady. I'd like to hear a story about her.
And like, not only is that badass, but like for that to be the kind of person who summons this guy, and he has respect for it too. He's like, yeah, you fucking did it. I will. Like, he's very happy to avenge someone who had such powerful emotions. I think he says like your emotions were really delicious or something.
Most people try to weasel out like, oh no, take my friend's soul or take that guy's soul. Don't take my soul. Mine's the special soul. She's like, no, whatever you need, bro. Kill me, kill everyone, but just kill them too.
Yeah, and we see this castle basically that's been corrupted. It's run by demons who are pretending to be people. It felt like an episode of Claymore. Have you ever seen Claymore?
Yeah, I'm familiar. Yeah. I read the manga.
Felt like Claymore.
I see it. There's a lot of like entering big castles. You meet the big person who turns out to be a monster, and then you slay them in fairly cool battles. I don't love Claymore, but it was all right.
It's all right. But yeah, the battle at the end, a bunch of people get cut up. It's pretty cool. I like seeing like the show go, because this show can be a bit dark and violent.
Sure.
Even though it's like overall a slice of life kind of comfy show, this was a good excuse to just have like an action episode. Like just badass fights. We already know Shizu's fate, so it's not like we're like worried about the stakes or anything. It's just like, what's going on in this world? Who are these characters? I would not mind more episodes like this, just random one-off adventures from other places in Shizu's backstory.
Especially if they have narrative weight, and clearly this Black guy is going to be the big dude coming up. So this is all fine, makes sense to me. Just keep more cool stuff coming. And then there's the final, episode 24.5, which I skipped through unapologetically, which is Veldora and Ifrit from within Rimuru, looking out at the things that happened while playing shogi and goofing around and having fun.
I don't remember if I specified this in one of the earlier episodes, but in the novels and manga, at the end of each volume, Veldora goes back through everything that happens and shares his perspective on it.
Right.
It's usually funny, and just like the way that he perceives all the events is entertaining because he's like an all-powerful dragon. So to him, all of this is like, oh, Rimuru decided to spare that guy. Interesting, kind of stuff. I had also skipped this episode, I think, the first time I watched it because it is mostly recap.
It wasn't in the pack I downloaded. I had to go find it afterward.
So it's funny as well because I was watching this dubbed and they chose to give both characters like a heavy reverb on a deep bassy voice. So the whole episode is just listening to like barely comprehensible. But it was fairly entertaining just because Veldora's thing is basically, I don't want to say he's like in love with Rimuru, but simps Rimuru mad hard because of the fact that Rimuru saved
bro.
him.
They fucking love each other.
So his whole thing is just like, everything Rimuru's like, he's like explaining everything he's doing to Ifrit, but always from the perspective of like, it's awesome and everything he's doing is genius. And Ifrit's like slowly getting sold on it. And the way that the dialogue is written is actually kind of interesting because it's showing a recap and they are reacting to what's happening, but like a recap of the show takes place over 2 years.
Yeah.
So it is in fact 2 years transpiring of them like playing shogi inside of Rimuru and just like commentating on the stuff that happens. And Ifrit's personality changes. He gets better at the game. He's like more interesting. Also, Ifrit is like also revealed to be a nice guy who never wanted to do anything bad. Like
that's true. It's true.
It's
he
like,
didn't seem that way before, but I guess that's how he is.
Now that he understands the perspective from being inside of Rimuru, he's like, oh, I never wanted to hurt anybody.
As like a buddy cop duo, I thought they were funny. I mean, it's funny that Ifrit is even conscious and alive. It seems that Veldora like specifically summoned him to like hang out with him in the void or whatever.
He does kind of imply that like he brought him there, not Rimuru. Like he could have just been dead. But I mean, it's This is like an entertaining idea. It does get old before the episode's over, especially having to listen to them both have stupid, distorted...
I wish this was broken up into little pieces throughout the arc. I think I would have liked it more. I would have been able to sit through it more easily.
I think that this is a show that easily could get away with, like, 2-minute post-ending theme Rimuru, Veldora commentaries, you know?
That'd be the right place for it, if you ask me.
Yeah, well, let's see what they do in season 2, if they change the way they handle it at all. Because
Maybe
it did feel like, I mean, as a last episode, it's disappointing.
Yeah,
inherently. But
I didn't have the stomach to watch these events again, and it wasn't bad. I thought it was fine, just not what I was
It's
into.
a fun idea, and I'm glad they found a way to continue the thing from the other adaptations. But like, it is significantly less. Like, if you were reading in the book, like, Veldora really does go through like all the events and offer commentary on them. So like, this is a much truncated version that just kind of establishes Veldora's personality, I guess, more than anything, which is nice because you didn't get to hear from him the whole fucking show. So just nice to hear from our dragon pal. But
I'd like him, and I want to see more of him. So if there's more of these, if it is in fact every episode, I'd really like to see that.
Well, what is your overall thoughts on season 1 of That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime?
It's a funny show that has aspects that I like quite a bit, but in its focus on, I don't know, like a comfy atmosphere, it kind of feels like it is missing some bare essentials, at least for someone like me, which is it instead of having like getting to know characters particularly well, we have like witty commentary from Rimuru's perspective, and that's like the substitute, which is hit and miss, I guess is what I would say. So I guess I thought it was probably a strong 6, maybe a light 7. Did not love it, but I did enjoy it, just sitting back and experiencing it. Once you're locked in and committed to watching a whole show, and you're just not worried about it, like, not every moment needs to be like a 10 out of 10 moment. I did like it. For the comfiness is its best aspect, and the growth thing, like playing one of these games like Forager that I've played many times on Switch, it's just fun to watch a thing be built. So on that level, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
This show, I have to give it like a 7 out of 10, even though I want to like it a lot more than that, because like I love Rimuru as a character. I love the idea of what they're trying to do in this world, the way it uses like video game logic and stuff. Just the particularly the anime. Like, I had already read the first volume of the manga before the anime came out, and it left very little impression on me. I was like, yeah, it's kind of a generic isekai. Seeing the level of effort and detail put into the animation, like, re-interested me in it, just out of wanting to see, like, why would they do that? And as the show went and I got, like, you know, endeared to the characters and the setting and everything, then it kind of sold me on it. So rewatching the show, like, initially, as we went through the first half of it, it was just like really exciting to see all these characters I love again, get reintroduced to the comfy aesthetics. And like you said, at its worst, this show is still enjoyable to watch just because it like feels and looks good, you know? Like, it's nice to be in the village. The characters are likable, even if they're not particularly interesting. When they do have big dumb fights, they look incredible. There are several moments where I thought, I really don't care about this fight, but it looks so damn good, I'm not gonna skip it. And it's rare that I feel that way. So there's a lot of positives about this show, but like, yeah, the plot just isn't really there.
There's very little actual plot.
You've got this sense that it's all building to something, and it's fun to watch it. It's just fun to watch it go, but like, again, it's like more watching the numbers tick up than the actual what's happening. It's more like it's got like the appeal of cookie clicker.
Yeah.
You know?
They could have put an overarching narrative about like, there's one demon king, he's advancing on the world, our kingdom is rising, and it will clearly be like a force to oppose that. There's none of that. That doesn't exist. Like, sure, there's a council of demon lords. Most of them are literally good guys by this point in the story. And the fairy mentions like, we're the 10 most powerful demon lords I'm a member of. Clearly the other ones we've met are also members of. Okay, I'm not convinced that those guys won't be nice guys also and be best friends with Rimuru that.
It's just hard for like, it's hard to care that much about any of the characters when all of them are basically just like good. They're just good people. Like, they're building a town and defending themselves. There's nothing that they're doing to make them like more nuanced or interesting or like differentiable from each other more so. Like, is there that much of a difference between Gobta and Gabiru? There's a bit of a difference, but like, you know, not like that difference. Even the names kind of sound the same.
I know we said this was like the lull, but like the lack of teeth on the narrative of when that guy Phobio became the Patu Cthulhu monster in the sky, whatever. There was like nothing to that. He just was mad at the girl, became a monster, and was dispatched, and like there was no death or suffering or agonizing or thinking about it. That's so fucking straightforward and boring. Jeez, I'm lowering it down. This is a 6.
No more
it's
of that, please.
That's my final number on it. It's a 6 at best, goddammit. Up your game for next season. I'm suddenly madder about this all of a sudden. I don't know why. I just feel like there's good things here.
It's a weird feeling of feeling like you watch 26 episodes and even enjoying all of them, feeling like none of it has been earned yet. Like it hasn't, like it needs to have that moment that makes it feel like all of it was worth it, and that hasn't come. Where like in Attack on Titan even, like when we got to the point where we started fighting female Titan, it started to feel like, oh my God, all the things that were set up matter now, you know? And we don't, because we set it all up, now it can just happen and like happen faster, and we're not still bogged down. This show has not started happening yet. It still feels like it's setting stuff up, introducing characters, introducing powers, where at the end of the season, there has yet to be a big, oh my God, all my homies did it kind of moment, you know?
That's true. And just comparing it, like, because it's walking that line between like a narrative thread that matters and is important versus like a slice of life relaxing. And it's, that tension is the issue. I find myself way more excited for season 2 of Yuru Camp. I cannot wait to see those girls get out there and camp their asses off. But I guess we'll just see.
When is that coming out?
I think the same season. I think also everything's happening.
Should we be covering Yuru Camp on Khantehnt?
I don't know if it's
Let
the
us
kind
know
of
if
show.
we should do a Yuru Camp camp.
I feel like I've been hyping it up quite a bit in our Slime episodes. I do love me some Yuru Camp. Maybe we could film it camping. Oh, we could put 10 over us.
Whoa!
In this building. Wouldn't that be fun? All right, anyway, that's it for Slime.
Stay tuned for that, possibly.
Season 2 is coming, and we'll just have to fucking see if they keep it good, or they do better or worse, or what the heck happens. But I hope you've enjoyed the ride so far, everybody. Go check out our Subscribe Star page and pledge $10 to get access to all our bonus episodes, including a very special Christmas episode coming December 25th down your chimney. And also join our Discord and follow us on Twitter and submit your Khantehnt clips to the Discord or the Twitter. If you film yourself doing some wacky, crazy stuff and saying Khantehnt.
Khantehnt!
No more, no less. And perhaps here's one of them right now. See you next time. Bye-bye. I'm singing a song about how I love the Queen of the Fairies. She's my people's savior and our god. I'm singing a song about how I love the Queen of the Fairies. She's my people's savior and our god.